So, Jeff, I noticed you haven't said much on our drive into Vermont. Everything okay?
Yeah, I guess I haven't said much because sometimes our destination just isn't always cheerful.
No, I get that. Sometimes tragedies leave a stain on a community that can be kind of hard to look at. So, why is this destination so bad?
It's worse than bad, Ray. It's terrible.
Oh, come on. It can't be that bad.
No, really. It's terrible.
Terrible?
We're driving up Route 100, heading to Andover, Vermont, to explore the mysteries and tragedies surrounding a place called Terrible Mountain. Hey, I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 113 of the New England Legends podcast. If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thanks for joining us as we investigate every legend in New England, 1 week and one story at a time. And a special thanks to our Patreon patrons.
Thank you.
This is a grassroots show, folks.
Yep.
No big sponsors, no corporate backing, just a couple guys with a crazy dream. That's all
us.
we are.
Yeah.
Our patrons help us with our hosting costs, production costs, promotion, and everything else we need to do to bring you a new story each week. If you want to be a bigger part of the movement, head over to patreon.com/New England Legends. And for just $3 per month, you'll get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes that no one else gets to hear.
And Ray,
Yes?
we have a very big announcement this week.
We do?
If you don't already know, and I know you know, but there's also a New England Legends television series
yes.
that's available on select PBS stations and right now, right this second, on Amazon Prime Video. And this week, we have a brand new episode. It's episode 7, Legendary Road Trip, exploring wicked strange ghosts, graves, and roadside oddities. If you look close in there, you're going to even see Ray.
Woo!
I take a trip along New England's highways and back roads in search of the devil, cursed headstones, Betty and Barney Hill's UFO encounter site, and I check out a lake monster that's turned pop culture. And you can go watch this episode as well as the first 6 episodes right this minute on Amazon Prime Video.
All right, Jeff, so we're heading to a terrible mountain near Andover, Vermont.
No, not a terrible mountain. The place is literally called Terrible Mountain. Here, take a look.
Wow. All right, so it says Terrible Mountain is 2,694 feet high, and it's the 214th highest summit in Vermont.
Right.
And sits in Windsor County, right next to Okemo State Forest in the central part of the Green Mountain State.
Sometimes a location name is impossible for us to resist, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's power in the name of a place.
Yeah, I remember when we explored Haunted Lake.
Oh, right.
In
yeah.
Francistown, New Hampshire.
Yep.
Remember? That was back in episode 54.
Right.
Some of these places just beg for our attention.
This is as good a place as any to park the car and check this place out.
Wow, this mountain is formidable.
Yeah.
It's steep, it's rocky. This will be a tricky hike.
It turns out Terrible Mountain is aptly named not just for its looks, it's also been the site of tragedies and the legend of one of the state's most famous hikers who may still be darting his way up the rocky face of this mountain.
Well, let's travel back to October of 1761 and figure out what happened here. It's October 13th, 1761. Andover, Vermont has just been granted its charter. The town is over 50 square miles in size, and it turns out whoever surveyed the town's borders wasn't thinking.
No, definitely not. Town lines are drawn for all kinds of reasons. I mean, sometimes a natural feature like a river, stream, or a mountain would define one part of the town line. But other times it's arbitrary, especially back in the earliest days of our country. So the guys who surveyed the town lines for Andover failed to notice that there's a mountain nearly 2,700 feet high, smack dab in the middle of it.
And while having a mountain in your town isn't such a bad thing,
No.
it can pose a problem when people actually start to live in your town.
Right. So some people live on this side of the mountain. Others live on that side of the mountain. But then you throw in some buildings like a town hall, a court, a general store, things like that. And folks on one side of the mountain have a big problem when it comes to taking care of all the administrative tasks that one has to handle when you live in any town.
It's not just a big problem, it's a terrible problem.
I see what you did.
You can't go over this mountain easily, and getting around it is time-consuming and arduous. But one problem locals face that's not big at all is what to name Andover's most prominent natural feature. The name Terrible Mountain sticks fast.
Yeah, it does. And the solution to Andover's terrible problem presents itself in 1799 when about half the town's land is parceled into a new town called Weston, located just on the west side of the mountain. So now it's no longer a town divided.
Right, it's just two towns with Terrible Mountain stuck between them.
Right. So let's hike up a little higher, Ray. But keep your eyes wide open. I mean, this is definitely bear country.
Oh, what was that?
Probably my stomach. I mean, I'm starving. So let's keep moving.
Okay, our next stop is March 19th, 1968, the day of the single worst tragedy on Terrible Mountain.
The weather is bad, and this twin-engine Beechcraft plane is struggling with the wind and the snow. On board are 7 men. 5 of them work for the Jones and Lamson Company in Springfield.
The wind is more than the small aircraft can take. The plane is pushed around like a kite, and suddenly, the pilots see a terrible sight right in front of them. The plane collides with the southwest face of Terrible Mountain, killing all 7 men instantly.
Locals see the ball of fire, and they hike up through 5 feet of snow to where the plane left a black mark on the mountain, but they find no sign of any survivors. Most of the wreckage will remain right where it is until one day when it finally rusts into nothing.
From here, we'll climb up to the 1970s.
All right.
There's a Vermont man who's a legend in his own right. He made his living as a Wethersfield farmer, but his passion is hiking the woods and mountains of New England. His name is Augustus Aldrich.
Aldrich is described as a tiny 84-year-old man. He travels light and fast. Thomas H. Borden of Tiverton, Rhode Island, is hiking Terrible Mountain with Aldrich so he can write about the experience for Vermont Life magazine. Borden describes his famous guide.
If an elfin wisp of an old man passes you on a Vermont trail, then turns back and with a twinkle in his blue eyes, asks you to hike away with him, take care. You've probably just encountered Augustus W. Aldrich.
Borden was warned that the old man can be difficult to keep up with.
This is one of those blatant Vermont understatements of fact. Aldrich is a cross between the King of Leprechauns and Peter Pan. This 104-pound bundle of rawhide and granite will walk your legs off to your belt line before breakfast.
It takes Borden and Aldrich several hours to hike to the top of Terrible Mountain. Borden is stunned that Aldrich carries nothing with him, not even water.
I used to carry water, but as I grew older, it grew heavier. Now I've trained myself where I don't drink at all on the trail.
When the pair reach the top of Terrible Mountain, Borden is shocked by what he sees next. Aldrich darts up a 40-foot spruce tree.
He didn't climb this tree, really. He sort of fell up it. He finally stopped amidst the tender green shoots at the top of the tree and swayed happily at the very peak.
There's no one who can beat me at climbing trees.
On July 5th, 1974, now 86-year-old Augustus W. Aldrich begins his hike up the 5,267-foot peak of Mount Katahdin in Maine. And he's never seen again. Search parties comb the mountain for 12 days and find nothing.
I wonder if the legendary Pomola of Mount Katahdin found Aldrich.
We'll never know. But we do know that a plaque is laid out for him near his home on Mount Ascutney. And we know that the ghost of Old Gus has been reported all over Vermont's trails and mountains, including here on Terrible Mountain. And that brings us back to today. Today, there are still problems in the region. Route 100, the very road we traveled to get here, has become a treacherous stretch of road around the Terrible Mountain area.
I'm looking through some local newspapers, and you're right, Jeff. The road is home to countless accidents.
Yeah.
Here's an article from August 2nd, 2018, from the Rutland Herald that describes how a tractor-trailer lost its brakes, flipped on its side, and launched thousands of pounds of heavy pallets at a nearby house.
Yikes.
Pretty much destroying the house. 2 people were sent to the hospital, and thankfully no one died.
Over the past 10 years, there have been other tractor-trailer accidents here as well, including a logging truck that tumbled into the same house.
That is truly terrible.
Terrible.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
I get it. We have many layers of legends here at Terrible Mountain. We've got this legendary hiker, Augustus Aldrich, who left his footprints on the mountain and on the hearts and psyche of the Green Mountain State. And we're walking the very trails he once walked as we search for what's left of that Beechcraft plane wreckage.
You also have an unusually high number of accidents all around the mountain.
Right, but more than anything, it's the name. Terrible Mountain. I mean, you can't help but expect bad things to happen. Even if you know nothing of the backstory, you figure someone named this place Terrible Mountain for a reason, and
Now you're waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah.
You're waiting for something bad to happen. You're looking for scary and terrible things. Yeah, and speaking of that, I think it's time we get off of Terrible Mountain.
Yeah, even when you understand how legends work, even when your logical brain tells you there's nothing to fear, sometimes something primal takes over and you figure it's better not to tempt fate.
Hey, if you enjoy our stories each week, please share them with a friend. Post our episodes on your social media, and please consider posting a review for us on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
That goes a long way in helping others find us.
More and more of our story leads are coming from you, our listeners, and we love it when you get involved in our super secret Facebook group or when you call or text our legend line anytime at 617-444-9683. That's what Liz did. She left this week's show closing on there for us.
We'd like to thank Michael Legge and Dustin Perry for lending their voice acting talents this week, and our theme music is by John Judd.
Hi, this is Liz Rotundo from Albany, New York. Until next time, remember, the bizarre is closer than you think.